and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome to the Champions League as it is time for Barça against Bayern Munich. And this is the one, guys, that we've been waiting for ever since the Champions League fixtures came out. This is the one that we highlighted. It's Hansi Flick against his former team. And believe me, both teams have everything to prove. And coming up today, we're going to be talking about the tactical battle between Flick and Kompany on Wednesday night and exactly where this game will be won and lost. There is everything to play for. It is all on the line. So come on, guys, and let's do this. And as we do kick off the Champions League build-up, guys, I would like to give special shout-outs here on the super thanks to Matt, to Nevis, to Ziki, and also to Yermia. They're always here, always giving such fantastic, generous support, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys being here for this massive game to come, because certainly when you're looking at the two teams here and the two coaches ahead of this match, I think there's lots to prove, and I think it's also really intriguing because they have similar shapes on paper, the two teams there. You're looking first of all at Hansi Flick. It's going to be a 4-2-3-1, we know that, and the beauty of Hansi Flick is that no matter what the game is, no matter who we're facing, we are going to approach this game in exactly the same way, because in the past, of course, at Barça, we've seen coaches here who've played attacking football, who've won games, who've played well, who've looked really good, but when it came to the big matches against the big teams, we retreat and we give up ground and we almost give in to the occasion. That won't happen under Hansi Flick. He is going to approach this game like he would any other, with absolutely no fear. And I think for much of the lineup, we know exactly who is going to be out there. That backline has been so solid this season with Jules Koundé, Pau Kubasi, Inigo Martinez and Balde. Of course, in terms of the goalkeeper, that's the one area of concern. We look set to stick with Iñaki Peña, Szczesny not included by Hansi Flick in the lineup as of yet. Midfield so strong with Casado and Pedri, but it's going to be the structuring of that midfield that we're going to talk a lot about today. There's still real debate there about who could play in that 10 role, how the setup of that midfield could look, because in my opinion, who Flick opts to go with, who Flick can go with in that midfield, it could actually decide this entire game, because the forwards, Yamal, Raphinha and Lewandowski, they've been delivering all season long, and we need them to do it again against Bayern. But indeed, guys, speaking of our opposition, what we will see from Kompany's team again is a 4-2-3-1, and you can see that on paper here, in terms of the two teams up against each other, they're going to stack up quite similarly, but the two coaches go about their work in different ways there, because when you're looking at Bayern, it's going to be Neuer in goal, very experienced, of course, still playing at a high level. Guerrero is going to be at right back most likely, Kim, Upamecano and also Alphonso Davies along that back line. But even in midfield at Bayern, they have a few questions as well, because it's going to be Joshua Kimmich, but there is no Alexander Pavlovic, and that is a big miss there for Bayern. He sustained, unfortunately for him, a fractured collarbone at the weekend. He's going to be out there until the end of November, so missing this game, and he's been outstanding in their midfield this season. Really impressive and key to Kompany's system. Who will replace him? Could it be Paulinho? He arrived, of course, from Fulham in the Premier League for big money. He wanted to make that move to Bayern. He eventually made it happen, but he has barely played so far this season, and it would be a big introduction here for him. And then, of course, in the forward line, Olise has been outstanding since arriving, also from the Premier League. Gnabry could start on the other side, but the big question is going to be too, is Jamal Musiala going to be ready for this game? Because he hasn't actually played since the start of the month, or he's been suffering with an injury problem. He's been working really hard. He could make his return in this game, and Bayern will desperately want him there to be just slotting in behind their leading man, Harry Kane. And I think, guys, as we start to look now at the two teams up against each other, pitting them one versus another, you're going to understand here just how key Jamal Musiala will be if Bayern can get him included. And whether he plays or not, it could decide the game on their part. Because let's look first of all at what Bayern do in terms of their build-up play, which I think is very important here, because what Kompany really likes to see from his Bayern team is these centre-backs very, very wide. That is something that we see in Bayern's build-up here, with the two centre-backs splitting massively, and the full-backs then pushing on nice and high up the field. So that's the kind of setup that you get. It's aggressive, it's bold, it's very risky though, and particularly thinking here about Barcelona's press, because what Bayern ideally want there is for you to go and hunt the ball down, for you to actually break up your system, to really go and hunt down those centre-backs, and they aim to play around you. But that's the thing about Barcelona's press, and I'm thinking here especially about Raphinha. He is going to be so key in this game. The way that he can win the ball back in these areas. I think we are going to see Barca apply maximum pressure to these Bayern centre-backs. When they split in this way, you're going to see us closing them down. Of course, there's going to be options. There's going to be options appearing here for Bayern, and what you will see as well is one of these midfield players dropping in, but a lot of the time, and this is the interesting thing about Musiala, a lot of the time, it's him who actually drops in. Vincent Kompany there uses him almost in a free role. He has license there to come very deep, to actually pick up the ball here from the centre-backs, and then it's on him to spin. So the big question will be, if Jamal Musiala plays, and for instance there, he's coming into this really deep position, do you follow him? Because I would look there at somebody like Casado. That for me is going to be a really key matchup. If Musiala plays, those two, they're going to be very close all game. That's the feeling that I have. So if Musiala comes in here, are you asking Casado, follow him? Where Musiala goes, you go. That's going to be the interesting approach there from Hansi Flick, because of course, the risk is that you actually close him down, and if you don't win that ball back, if you don't actually there cut off the supply, look at the space in here. Look at the space that Bayern have there to really erupt into if they can avoid this initial press. So the question is going to be, how aggressive are Barca going to be? How much pressure here are they going to put on that Bayern build-up? Because even Manuel Neuer, he gets involved as well. When Musiala is more advanced in the field there, when they've got their midfield options, Neuer can actually step out very high for a goalkeeper and almost make it a 3. So again, you're looking at that Barca press. That is Flick's way. That is his bread and butter. We absolutely love to do that. And that's why it's fascinating here to see how Bayern cope with it. And if we can win balls back in these kinds of areas, guys, well, then you're in. You have a chance. You have an opportunity to really hurt them. However, guys, when it comes to being bold and when it comes to being aggressive and just how brave Barca and Flick are going to be in this game, you're talking about space here, you're talking about players dropping in there, and Kane as well loves to drop into these kinds of positions. He can be an absolutely fantastic creator, even despite all the goals that he scored. He is so comfortable in this area. But of course, Barca, they very much have the option, and I expect to see it, whereby they do this. The entire back line steps up. And I mean everybody. And we've seen how consistently solid that offside trap has been so far this season. And the question is, in a game against Bayern, how high are we going to be? How high is that Hansi Flick line going to be? Because, of course, then, if you step up that high, well, suddenly then you do close down the space. There's not as much to operate in, and it allows you there to press a lot easier. But then it's all about those balls in behind. It is all about stopping pace. Now, Elise can certainly provide it, Gnabry as well. Sane, of course, is an option coming off the bench of Bayern, or maybe even starting this game. And don't forget the kind of overlapping runs that Bayern love to have. Alphonso Davies and Guerrero on both sides, they are going to be a threat. So Barca will try to step up the field. They will try to close down the space that Bayern have to operate in, but that will mean we need to be on it defensively. That line has to be perfect, because you cannot allow Bayern to have time on the ball. You cannot allow them to pick passes, and when they do, you're also looking at Iñaki Peña. And that actually brings me on then to a different area of this game, a different approach here, thinking about Barca defensively now, because this is where things get really interesting. Because obviously Bayern, they have a way of playing out the back. They have sort of a fearless approach there in terms of working their way around opponents, and Barca press very high. Well, Bayern, though, they do exactly the same thing. When we are in possession, when we're trying to build up from the back, I think they're going to be just as aggressive, if not maybe even more so at times this season. We've seen their centre-backs there on the halfway line, and their full-backs, they go. And the midfielders here have a lot of responsibility for defending here in this Bayern team. But what you feel they will try and do is put pressure, and big pressure, on Iñaki Peña. They will understand here that he is a weakness in this team, that he will not be experienced at this level. They will try and play on those nerves. And of course, Peña is going to be vital in the build-up there. And you're also looking at that defensive line. Pau Cubarsí, he's playing out of the back here. That's going to be vital. His ability and composure on the ball here, because we do not want to get stuck in this kind of zone. We want to get out as quickly as possible because, of course, guys, if we can find the passes, if we can actually build up here, and these midfield players, they've got to be brave. You need Casado receiving the ball. You need Pedri in these kinds of areas. That is why, personally, I would play Pedri deeper in that midfield because I want him receiving the ball off that back line. Because, obviously, if Barca can get around that Bayern press, it will be aggressive, it will be very, very high. We're looking for counters, because don't think here, just because we're playing at home, just because that we're Barcelona, we're not going to be looking to counter. We definitely will, because Bayern, I think, in some ways, will play into our hands. They will still be aggressive. They will still be incredibly high. And you think about Raphinha, you think about Yamal, you think about the way this season that we have taken teams apart on the break. We're going to look to do the same. We are going to look here to pick the passes, to finish our chances, and I think it's going to be a fascinating game because the two teams, they want to play the same way. Barca are used to playing all of their football in the opposition half. They're used to their having the ability to high press and do all of that stuff. But so do Bayern. You know, Bayern are really used to pushing up too. So where is this game going to be played? What area are we actually going to see this game won and lost in? But I'll tell you right now, no matter where this game is going to be played, the one man who's going to be key, in my opinion, above all others for Barca, it has to be Raphinha, because I think here in any area of this game, he's just vital to what we want to bring, whether it's in terms of the pressing, making sure here that he is the first man to lead that press across the front line and putting maximum pressure here on those Bayern centre-backs. He's going to be there. He's also the kind of guy that's going to be working back. If Bayern create overloads here and want to get that full back overlapping, he's also going to be back in that area too, giving everything for every minute. But then it's about the counters too. As we've just said, when Bayern push up and there's space in behind, he is also the man that can carry us and get us up the field at any moment in time. He's key in all areas, and his performance, it could also decide this game. But on the flip side of that, and when it comes to Bayern, when it comes to recognising the threats that they have, if there was one area of this team that I think Barca must pay the most attention to, and really the way that we defend this area, it could decide the game. I think it's all about this trio here. I think Musiala, if he plays, Harry Kane, of course, leading the line, so many goals, so much quality, but I think Elise, he's a really, really dangerous player. He loves to cut in here from the right onto his left foot, so dangerous in these kinds of positions. And what we've also seen him do at Bayern this season is not just be a winger, but actually at times play alongside Musiala, and you will see Bayern, certainly throughout the game, play in bunches. You know, they're not always incredibly organised in their build-up, in their approach. You might see players overloading the one side, really operating there all together. And I think we've got to be so wary here of the movement of Elise. The way that he can get in between centre-back and full-back, that is going to be something that we must keep a very, very close eye on. Musiala, like we said, is going to be roaming. And Kane is dangerous too, because like I said before, you can't really defend him like a natural number 9. You know, he might look like a natural number 9 in the way that he's big, he's strong, he can hold up the ball, but he's anything but. You know, he can operate in all different kinds of areas too. He can really operate well in the build-up, and you've got to follow him. You've got to pay him attention. You've got to have players here. You can't be giving Bayern space and time to move the ball, because they can move it so quickly and in really, really tight areas. So those three have to be the area that Barca pay special attention to, because in the end, will it come down to those individual battles? And that is when we come on here to talk about the options that Hansi Flick has, because this number 10 role here, it is going to be vital, and it's a really, really big decision here for Hansi Flick to make, because obviously you could technically start this game in exactly the same way as we did at the weekend, with Ansu Fati in the team. You play Raphinha centrally, which I'd like to see. I think he's been so dangerous, so effective in that area, but did Ansu do enough to start? Is he going to be able to impact this game and actually threaten and press Bayern in the way that we want to? That's a big question. Or do you play Raphinha more out to the left? Do you play Pedri in the number 10? And is there an option there to start Frankie de Jong in the holding midfield role. Now remember that Flick wanted to actually start him at the weekend. Maybe he was trying to prepare him for this game, but of course then Frankie had discomfort. Now he might be better, he might be ready for this game, but is he ready to start against Bayern? That would be a massive, massive step for a player who hasn't yet started in many, many months of football. So maybe not Frankie for me. Pedri goes in there. And then could it be Fermin? That's another option here. You put Pedri deeper in midfield. You allow him again to have that freedom to advance, though, to play alongside the leading man. Is Fermin Lopez ready to start in this game? But if it was me, what I'd really, really be hoping for, honestly, it's Dani Olmo. And the reason for that, actually, two different reasons. Number one, he actually knows Bayern very, very well. He's played in the Bundesliga. He's had really good games against them. So that's the first thing. He's carrying in with him a lot of confidence. But secondly, he makes everything in our team better. Now, I know that at the weekend, he didn't play at all. Now, that doesn't give me confidence that he'll be able to start this game. I don't know if he'll be ready. But if there's a chance, I'd love to see it there, because I would feel so confident here heading into this game with the midfield as it looks there. Pedri, Casado, Dani Olmo as a trio, linking up with Yamal, Raphinha, Lewandowski, and think about the pressing too. He is excellent in these areas. He can really, really add to that attack. And that team there for me, I'd be confident. I would actually feel very secure, very bold, brave and aggressive heading into this game. But can we see that lineup? Is that an option for Hansi Flick? What would you guys do? What players would you include here? Who would play the 10? Who would play in holding midfield? And would you feel confident there with that lineup lining up against Bayern Munich at our home stadium? These are the big questions that we are all asking ourselves right now as we count down to the big game itself, guys. But make no mistake about it, this game is won and lost in the press. Whoever can do it the best, whoever can execute the best game plan, they are coming out on top here. It is going to be about being brave and making sure that you are clinical in front of goal, taking those chances when they come around, guys. So let me know how you're feeling. What are your thoughts ahead of facing Bayern? What do we need to do to win this game? And how would you line up? I will see you all in the full match preview, which is going to be coming soon on the channel. Thank you indeed, though, for watching, for all of your support here. But until next time, as always, Vejka, Barça.